Coronation Street's Todd Grimshaw and Glenda Shuttleworth go head-to-head in a vicious spat next week, as his drunken and selfish behavior spirals out of control. Their new feud comes as mysterious newcomer Celeste, played by Frances Barber, arrives on the street looking to plan a funeral. But her appearance sparks a bitter division between Todd and Glenda, one that could see him left completely alone. Todd and Glenda's friendship is well and truly over, explains our Corrie source. He's drinking to numb the pain of the last year, but Glenda gets caught in the crossfire. What he does to her is hard to forgive. Todd is back from his trip to Thailand and ready to continue the good times, arranging nights out with his mates. But as George Shuttleworth and Christina Boyd prepare to go on their own jolly to Somerset, Todd puts a downer on their excitement by dropping Christina in it and revealing that she's still spending like mad. Later in the week, Todd and Glenda are greeted by an unfamiliar face outside number 7, a woman named Celeste. With Dev and Bernie away, Celeste heads off disappointed, but Todd bumps into her again while locking up the undertakers, where she asks him to arrange a funeral, hers. Celeste has only 6 weeks to live, continues our spy. They head to the Rovers to discuss her Dolly Parton-themed funeral plans over drinks. Flirty Glenda takes a real shine to Celeste's driver, Fraser, and she's thrilled when she gets his number and they arrange a date. Later, Todd heads for another drinking session on Canal Street with Christina, but the next day she updates Mary and Glenda about how much he's been boozing. Glenda's quick to warn Todd that if keeps this behavior up, he'll be left with no friends. Her words sting, and Todd is outraged that she's trying to humiliate him. At the undertakers, Celeste pops by and warns Todd that smitten Glenda might be heading for heartbreak, as Fraser is gay. But this insider information gives spiteful Todd a light bulb moment and he cooks up a cruel plan to get revenge on love-struck Glenda. Were Glenda's harsh words true, is Todd about to lose all his friends? Or will his devious act to embarrass Glenda be recognized as a cry for help? The cobbles of Coronation Street are set for another major shakeup as Todd Grimshaw finds himself caught up in an unexpected feud, with the arrival of Frances Barber's new character promising to cause trouble for the Weatherfield favorite. Todd has never been a stranger to complicated situations. Over the years, he has survived heartbreak, family drama and more than a few explosive confrontations. However, his latest storyline could take him into completely unfamiliar territory when Frances Barber arrives in Weatherfield. The acclaimed actress is joining Coronation Street in a new role, and her character is expected to have an important connection to the unfolding drama. While details surrounding her exact role have been kept closely under wraps, her arrival looks certain to put pressure on Todd and those around him. For Todd, the timing could hardly be worse. He has spent considerable time trying to build a more stable life, but the latest developments threaten to drag him straight back into conflict. What begins as an apparently ordinary encounter could quickly develop into a feud that leaves Todd struggling to work out who he can actually trust. The newcomer is not expected to simply arrive and quietly settle into life on the street. Instead, Frances Barber's character will reportedly have a strong presence, immediately making her mark on the residents around her. Todd is likely to be one of the first people caught in her orbit. At first, Todd may believe that he can handle the situation. He is experienced enough to know that Weatherfield residents often come with complicated histories, and he has learned not to jump to conclusions. But there could be far more to Frances Barber's character than Todd initially realizes. The mystery surrounding her arrival could become one of the biggest talking points of the storyline. Why has she come to Weatherfield? What does she really want? And, most importantly, why does her presence appear to put Todd on edge? Those questions could eventually lead to a confrontation between the pair. Todd has developed a reputation for being able to stand his ground, but this particular feud could prove different. Rather than a straightforward argument, the conflict may involve old secrets, competing loyalties and uncomfortable revelations. As tensions rise, Todd could find himself forced to make a difficult choice. One possibility is that he attempts to keep the peace, only to discover that Frances Barber's character has no interest in backing down. Todd could initially try to understand her motives, but every conversation may leave him with even more questions. The more Todd investigates, the more complicated the situation could become. And that is where the drama could really begin. Coronation Street has a long history of introducing new characters who shake up established families and friendships. Frances Barber's arrival looks set to follow that tradition, with her character potentially becoming an important figure in Todd's next chapter. The feud could also have consequences for Todd's relationships with other residents. Once rumors begin spreading across the cobbles, people may start taking sides. Some could sympathize with Todd, while others may believe that he has brought the trouble upon himself. Todd could therefore find himself increasingly isolated. That would be particularly difficult because he has spent so much time trying to move forward. His past has often threatened to catch up with him, and this new storyline could once again demonstrate just how difficult it is to escape old patterns in Weatherfield. Frances Barber's character could exploit those vulnerabilities. Rather than simply becoming Todd's enemy, she may challenge him in ways he is not prepared for. She could force him to confront decisions he thought he had already put behind him. That would give the feud a more personal edge. Todd might initially insist that he has nothing to hide, but as the storyline progresses, viewers could begin to wonder whether he really is telling the whole truth. The biggest twist may come when a seemingly harmless detail suddenly changes everything. Todd could discover that Frances Barber's character has information about his past, or that she has a connection to somebody he knows. If that happens, the feud could quickly become much more serious than either of them expected. And Todd may have to decide whether to reveal the truth before somebody else does. The newcomer could also prove to be far more unpredictable than Todd anticipates. One moment, the pair could appear to have reached an understanding. The next, another revelation could send them straight back into conflict. That unpredictability would keep viewers guessing about where the storyline is heading. Meanwhile, the rest of the street is unlikely to remain completely unaffected. Weatherfield residents have a habit of getting involved in other people's business, especially when a feud becomes impossible to ignore. As Todd's conflict with the newcomer escalates, friends and neighbors could find themselves dragged into the fallout. Some may warn Todd to walk away. Others could encourage him to fight back. Either way, Todd's attempt to maintain control could become increasingly difficult. The arrival of Frances Barber also gives Coronation Street an opportunity to introduce a character who can remain part of the wider Weatherfield story beyond the initial feud.